Okay, so the plan at the time of recording this video is pretty much to upload 2 videos on the Canadiens Sunday morning and 1 Sunday evening. Not evening, afternoon. Let's do afternoon. Because there was already a very big Canadian story that I wanted to talk about for Sunday, and that was going to be about Cole Caulfield and his absolute monster weekend. Well, it turns out, after last night's action between the Canadiens and the Calgary Flames, what we had was a series of tweets that came out talking about a completely separate topic that brings up an entirely new story that I wanted to go over here on the channel. So without further ado, let's go over onto Twitter and read these tweets as they come out. The first tweet comes out here from Salim Nadim Valji, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. He is a TSN guy who has connections. He says this: "Here's some news on the Canadiens. Victor Mete, who has been scratched in each of the Habs 7 games this season, has officially requested a trade from the team. Agent Darren Ferris and the Montreal Canadiens will work together in finding a trade partner." This is what Pierre LeBrun said on the matter. It's a quote from Darren Ferris himself. "There isn't an opportunity to get Mete in the lineup. It's best for both the player and the team for him to get traded." But oh no, it doesn't stop there, because we had ourselves a response from the other party in this discussion. This is what Marc Bergevin said regarding the Mete trade request via text message. "Not true, and I'm not trading him." Now again, before we go over any of the analysis here, any of the comments, any of the possibilities, let's just establish that NHL GMs lie all the time, and they always go back on their word. I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I'm saying that time and time again, you see NHL GMs say something, and then their actions a few days, weeks, or months later down the line contradict those things they said before. The biggest example of this is literally with Marc Bergevin. Yeah, we're not trading PK Subban, bro. And then they trade PK Subban for Weber. In hindsight, that was an okay trade, but it's one example of many of NHL GMs around the league lying about what they say. And Marc Bergevin in this current timeline has officially established via text message for publication to the media that no, he is not trading Victor Mete, and it's not true that he is going out there asking for a trade. So, it is kind of funny, isn't it? How the agent's like, yeah, he wants a trade, and then the GM is like, no, he doesn't want a trade. What are you talking about? That's not true. Fake news, bud. Don't even know how that's really possible, but that is the situation we have here. So when it comes to Victor Mete, I think I've said this a few times in a few videos already, but I guess we'll go through the entire shtick again. Mete to me is a guy who has such a very weird style of play as a defenseman. He's a small guy, he doesn't hit, he doesn't shoot it well, but what he does do well is actually hold onto the puck and rush things forward with it. He's a guy who plays kind of a possession rover kind of forward, but just as a defenseman, and it's really weird how that style has translated into the NHL. We all remember how long it took for Mete to score his first goal, but over the years, you know, he has looked good in some areas, poor in others. I remember I was a very big fan of Mete, particularly in the playoffs last year, but Victor Mete has not been playing. And that's kind of something that you have to take a look at when you have a team that already had so many good defenders in the system, and you just added a few more. Edmonton's playing games now. So is Alexander Romanov. So having a guy like Mete, who is on this team, technically he's scratched, not at the taxi squad because the Habs aren't going to waive him, and you still have a few other guys in your system that you're looking towards building maybe some sort of an NHL base this season too. You have, for example, Cale Fleury. He's a very capable NHL talent in the NHL, in my opinion. Not to mention all the prospects you have that you're looking towards having in the next few years too. Norlinder, Struble, all these other guys, Josh Brook as well. So the way the Habs have built their D-Corps, where they have a lot of really established NHL talents on the team today, plus the other influx of guys that might actually be able to play in the NHL today, it's led them to a position where they're forced to maybe sit some guys out who might not be deserving of sitting out if they were on any other team. The fact is, the Habs were winning games over and over again, so you can't go out there and say, okay, sorry, bud, we're just going to take you out even though we've been winning all these games. They have to go with the same lineup here. The only changes they made were because Armia was taken out by Tyler Myers, which does suck, and then you had the other stuff too. Shot blocks and Anderson getting flu-like symptoms, all that stuff. So with Victor Mete on the blue line, he's a guy who I definitely do see somewhat of a very projectable NHL game, But a lot needs to go right for this kind of guy. As I said, the way he plays is weird. You don't have any other defenseman in the entire league, in my opinion, that love to hold on to the puck and who love to create offensive space with it like Mete does. He doesn't have that physical edge and he can't really shoot it, but what he does do is create space. And you could debate that the skating he has isn't good enough to keep up with that kind of style, but at the end of the day, Mete has developed his entire game over the years with that style. So when it comes to taking out an Edmonton or Romanov or whoever for this kind of guy, firstly, we said it's tough to do that when the team is winning games. Secondly, it's a lot tougher to do that when the way he plays is so much different than all the other left-handed defensemen that are on the team, Sherratt, Mete, Romanov, etc. So if you're going to go out there asking for Victor Mete in a trade, what you're really doing here is kind of just getting a lottery ticket. Like, it's difficult, in my opinion, to put a value on Mete, because what you would need to give up, in my opinion, is another guy who also has a boatload of potential to become good in this league, but whose likelihood of hitting that potential is not as high as, let's say, a Connor McDavid or an Austin Matthews. Those guys were pretty much guaranteed to be as good as people thought they would be. Mete is a guy who has a good ceiling, in my opinion, but the likelihood of him reaching that is not all too high compared to some of the other players who are guaranteed. So that's why people are talking about, oh, Vancouver, Jake Virtanen, for example, for Victor Mete. First off, that doesn't make sense for Montreal. They wouldn't make that kind of trade. Secondly, oh, is it draft picks? Is it another prospect or whatever for Victor Mete? Or is it just the bare minimum? Just like something like a 6th or a 5th or whatever, not because that's what he is worth, but because the Canadiens can decide, okay, well, maybe it is kind of not really in our best wishes to play this guy because we're winning games and we have some other good defensemen. Let's just trade him away, do him a favor, send him to a team that'll actually play him, and we can get a pick in return. Who knows? What's the plan here? I mean, Bergevin said there's no plan to make a trade here, but at the very least, I do think it's worth discussing now that we have the word from the agent that says that he wants a trade. But now I'm just kind of interested in seeing how exactly that could work out. Again, the Vancouver angle is one we discussed. Olli Juolevi was a teammate of Victor Mete's, actually a line mate of Victor Mete's back with the London Knights in 2016, I believe. But I think with that kind of wraps up all the thoughts that I have about this topic. I guess I'll leave this video off with just one question. The agent says he wants a trade. GM says, no, he doesn't want to trade. We're not going to trade him. Tell me in the comments, does Mete get traded sometime within the next year? Yes or no? Let me know why. Also, let me know in the comments all your thoughts on whether or not he should, could, or would get traded, because should he get traded is a different question than will he get traded. If you had to predict, what do you think is going to happen? Is he getting traded? Is he staying? What's going to happen by the time this is all said and done with? Let me know in the comments what you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.